All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The Supreme Court of Florida is now in ceremonial session. All we have cause to plead. Draw near. Give attention. You shall be heard. God save these United States, the great state of Florida, and this honorable court. Ladies and gentlemen, Supreme Court of Florida, please be seated.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Florida Supreme Court, and thank you so much for joining us here today. Public service is at the heart of our professional responsibility as lawyers. In its 1949 opinion establishing the Florida Bar, our court emphasized lawyers' essential role in the administration of justice, and in that context, our court observed that, quote, "It is hardly necessary to assert that the bar has a responsibility to the public that is unique and different in degree from that exacted of the members of other professions." We also said that the bar increases in public esteem by the precepts it lives by, not by the money it makes. In fact, if money making is the lawyer's sole purpose, he worships a God that is too small. Close quote. Obviously, we all have to earn a living, and the point is not to suggest that there's anything wrong with making money. It's also important to acknowledge that providing pro bono services is not the only path to fulfilling a lawyer's duty to the public. There are many ways that lawyers can fulfill that obligation, and each of us in conscience must decide how best to do so. Nonetheless, our court today continues its long-standing tradition of honoring a particular and critically important form of public service, the provision of legal services to those who cannot afford them. As lawyers, we all profess the ideal of equal justice under law. The people and institutions we honor today have shown extraordinary dedication to making that ideal a reality for the clients they serve. There's no doubt that those clients are the most direct beneficiaries of pro bono services. But we should not overlook that, to the extent it brings about greater justice and enhances the public's trust in the fairness and accessibility of our legal system, pro bono service ultimately benefits our society as a whole. All of us owe a debt of gratitude to those lawyers who perform pro bono service. Although we're here to recognize the best of the best, it's fitting to acknowledge and thank the tens of thousands of Florida lawyers who gave their time, talent, and treasure for pro bono legal services this past year. In the most recent reporting period, nearly 40,000 Florida attorneys collectively provided more than 1.5 million hours of free legal service, and Florida lawyers reported contributing nearly $7 million to legal aid groups. We pray that today's event will inspire Florida lawyers to do even more in the coming year. Let me give you a brief preview of today's ceremony. I'll begin by announcing on behalf of the entire court the recipients of our Pro Bono Awards for a state and a federal judge, for a law firm, and for a voluntary bar association. Then Florida Bar President Gary Lesser and Young Lawyers Division President Iris Elijah will present awards on behalf of the bar. Finally, we'll conclude by announcing the winner of today's highest honor, the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Service Award. Before we begin, I need to acknowledge that these awards and today's ceremony would not be possible without the work of the Chief Justice's Pro Bono Advisory Committee. They're the ones who spend hours reviewing the nominees and learning about them, all of whom would be worthy of being honored today. The committee's guidance is indispensable to our court. This year, the committee was chaired by past bar president Michael Tanner, a great guy and a great friend of the court. Is Mike, are you here today? No, okay. We thank Mike very much for his service and the members of that group. If there are any committee members, could you please stand and be recognized? We'd also like to honor the members of the Florida Pro Bono Coordinators Association. Those of you who are present, would you please stand? And finally, please join me in honoring the recipient of the K. Myers Pro Bono Coordinator of the Year Award, Claude Bertram Nelson III of Community Legal Services of Mid-Florida. Okay, let's get started with today's awards. Since 2005, our court has recognized a state court judge for improving the administration of justice through the judge's support of pro bono work by lawyers. The winner of this year's award is someone near and dear to my heart. One of the great things about being on this court is that I get to go around and work with the chief judges around the state. And the winner of this award today, I have to say, is one of the most instantly likable and unfailingly joyful people that I've ever met. In the words of one of my favorite literary characters, I would consider him a universal favorite, and I don't think I'm alone in that. It's my great honor to announce this year's recipient of Florida's Distinguished Judicial Service Award, Chief Judge Ron Ficarota of the 13th Judicial Circuit. Chief Judge Ficarota has been a vocal champion of the Volunteer Lawyers Program of Bay Area Legal Services and of pro bono activities in the 13th Circuit more generally. Thanks in part to Judge Ficarota's leadership and encouragement, there are over 1,000 active volunteer attorneys in his area. His support has ranged from ensuring that legal services providers have access to free office space in the courthouse, to assisting various pro bono clinics, to consistently participating in community events to raise awareness of pro bono opportunities. Chief Judge Ficarota also promotes pro bono service in connection with the Juvenile Mental Health Court that he established and over which he still presides. Finally, Chief Judge Ficarota has successfully encouraged his judicial colleagues also to support pro bono efforts in their community. In sum, Chief Judge Ficarota is a model of the service-minded judge and a great example for all of us in the judiciary. Judge, if you could please come forward to accept your award from Marshall Dawson and to offer your remarks.
May it please the court, Chief Justice Muniz, Justices of the Court, President Lesser, YLD President Elijah, members of the Florida Bar Board of Governors, fellow award winners, family, friends, I am most sincerely honored and most sincerely humbled to receive this award. I share it with my fellow judges of the 13th Circuit, with our 13th Circuit Pro Bono Committee, with all of the great lawyers at Bay Area Legal Services in Hillsborough County, and all of the attorneys who step up to perform pro bono. We have a long history of pro bono excellence in Hillsborough County. Trial court judges are the front line of our great branch. Our branch has the awesome responsibility to assure access to justice, access to the courts, to all, regardless of status or stature, to all. It is intimidating to walk into a courtroom. I was nervous walking in here, and I'm getting an award. You know, and I've been a judge 29 years and a chief judge for 8 of those. But for those less fortunate, for those who come to our court seeking justice, who may not have the wherewithal to hire an attorney, for those who are not educated, for those who may not speak the language, it can truly be frightening and overwhelming. Pro bono attorneys level that playing field. When we take the oath as attorneys, we swear to never reject the cause of the defenseless or oppressed. That's why we do what we do as lawyers and why we do what we do as judges. It is what makes our profession a noble one. Just like the Chief Justice said, it is not about billable hours. It is not about the dollars. It is the good that we are fortunate enough to be able to do to give back. To be in the well of this courtroom is very special for me. The first time I sat in this courtroom was in 1975. I was in high school. My brother Joe was clerking for former Chief Justice Atkins. And I sat in that back row and watched the lawyers in their oral arguments. And I just imagined, man, one day maybe I can sit there at the podium and make an oral argument. And it actually came true. On September 5th, 2012, I was the past chair of the Florida Conference of Circuit Judges, and I had the opportunity to participate in oral arguments before the Florida Supreme Court regarding proposed rule changes to governance of the courts, and I argued in opposition of term limits for chief judges. That argument didn't go so well, as I find myself coming up on being term limited as chief judge on the 13th Circuit. But that's okay. That's okay. Today more than makes up for that. To be here today before this honorable court, the highest court in the state of Florida, with justices that I've had the privilege, the honor, the opportunity to work with, and to come to know, to be here, especially with my family, my amazing wife Monica, my brother Joe, my sister Rosemary, my brother-in-law John Higdon, and believe me, I would not be standing here without their love and support. Thank you all for being here with me. To receive this, such a special, meaningful award for me, I cannot think of a better way to wind down my judicial career. I am proud to be an attorney. I am proud to be a member of the Florida Bar. I am proud to serve as a judge and be part of the great judicial branch of our state and to serve under our Chief Justice and this honorable court. I thank all of you, and I look forward to continuing to support the pro bono efforts of attorneys and our branch. Thank you, Chief.
We're going to take a brief recess now to conference whether to amend that rule on the term limits. All right, since 2016, our court has also presented the Chief Justice's Distinguished Federal Judicial Service Award. This award recognizes an active or retired federal judge for outstanding and sustained service to the public, especially in support of pro bono legal services. The award is given to a judge who advances the goal of equal justice under the law and who encourages pro bono service by Florida lawyers. It's my privilege to announce that the 2023 award goes to Judge Emeritus A. J. Crystal of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of Miami. Judge Crystal retired from the bench last year after a long and distinguished career in the military and as a lawyer and judge. His 38 years in the military, including serving as a Navy aviator in the Korean War, a JAG Corps lawyer, and a captain in the Naval Reserve. His civilian legal career started after he graduated from law school in 1959, when he took a job as a Special Assistant Attorney General in Florida. Eventually, he was appointed a bankruptcy judge in 1985. An article written upon his retirement praised Judge Crystal for his intellect, demeanor, and personal kindness, describing him as beloved and an inspiration to generations of lawyers and judges. It's a testament to Judge Crystal that the University of Miami Law School named its bankruptcy clinic in honor of him and his late wife, Eleanor. Unfortunately, Judge Crystal is unable to be here today, and I truly say that it's unfortunate because having read about him, he sounds like a wonderful person and someone who we would have all loved to hear from. Nonetheless, we congratulate him and we thank him for his service to our country and to the people of our state. We next honor a law firm that has distinguished itself in its commitment to pro bono service. This year's winner is the Miami firm Biltz & Sumberg. In 2021, this firm collectively contributed 2,235 pro bono hours to individuals and nonprofit organizations across the state. It collaborates with pro bono organizations like Legal Services of Greater Miami, Lawyers for Children America, and the Cuban American Bar Association Pro Bono Legal Services. The firm offers pro bono services both to individual clients and to nonprofits. It is also served at legal clinics sponsored by Legal Services of Greater Miami. I'd like to welcome Mr. Albert E. Dotson, Jr. to come forward on behalf of Biltz & Sumberg to receive the award from Marshall Dawson and to offer remarks.
Well, you know, there's sometimes, first let me say, may it please the court, There's some times that you stand at a podium and you follow someone and you realize, why couldn't I go third? But I will say this. First, let me say that on behalf of Bills and Sundberg, I want to thank you, Chief Justice, for this award, and to all of you justices for your commitment to pro bono legal services in our state. You've now heard why we as lawyers should commit ourselves to pro bono work, and I thank you for laying the predicate for these remarks. Today, there are members of Bills and Sundberg who are watching through the services that you have provided, the streaming services you have provided, and 3 other of my colleagues who are here. We have committed ourselves to pro bono work not because we believe it is just our obligation. It's our responsibility as human beings. It's our responsibility as lawyers. It's our responsibility to our fellow men to give back as much as we can, no matter how we can. And for us as lawyers, it's through pro bono services. I am joined here today by the chair of our pro bono committee, Raquel Fernandez, one of my partners, who I get the pleasure of standing here. She gets the responsibility of doing all the work. And I just want to recognize her you can clap for her. As managing partner, it's interesting. You get a chance to work with great people, and those people who are committed to both providing legal services on a fee basis and those who provide legal services on a pro bono basis. She has a saying that we as Bills and Sundberg focus on not only doing one-to-one pro bono services, but one-to-many. And we started for the first time a couple of years ago recognizing all of the staff, as well as the lawyers, who have been involved in our pro bono work through our Matters of the Heart award. So Bills and Sundberg thanks you. For those of you who are watching at Bills and Sundberg, I want to thank you. And for those of you here in the courtroom, while this is my first time here, and hopefully it has gone well so far, I do want to thank you all for joining us today. And Chief Justice, and for all the Chief Justices before you who have given this award, thank you.
Each year, the court also recognizes a voluntary bar association for its outstanding pro bono contributions. Our honoree this year is the Haitian Lawyers Association. The Haitian Lawyers Association has provided pro bono legal services for more than a quarter century to clients throughout the state of Florida, partnering with firms, other voluntary bar associations, and legal aid organizations. Over the past 5 years, HLA members as a group have assisted more than 1,500 clients and volunteered more than 2,668 pro bono hours. The association partners with Legal Services of Greater Miami to provide free representation to families facing foreclosure and has taken part in community seminars. Among other things, the HLA provided Creole-speaking attorneys and paralegals to Legal Services of Greater Miami and to the Law Library at the Miami-Dade County Courthouse. The association's commitment to community and excellence extends to statewide outreach and CLE seminars to provide training and mentoring. The court now recognizes Ms. Nadine Gideon on behalf of the Haitian Lawyers Association to receive the award from Marshall Dawson and to offer her remarks.
May it please the court, Your Honors, Chief Justice Muniz, Florida Bar President Gary Lesser, Young Lawyer President Iris Elijah, my fellow honorees, members of the Board of Governors, I almost forgot about that, distinguished guests. It is my greatest honor and privilege to receive the Chief Justice 2022 Voluntary Bar Pro Bono Service Award on behalf of the Haitian Lawyers Association. HLA, since 1997, tradition has been to promote excellence and diversity in our legal profession through mentoring, networking, leadership, and community service. HLA's members include judges, lawyers, law professors, and law students. Many of them are hardworking, diligent, and knowledgeable attorneys with a heart of community service. HLA is an organization dedicated to protecting and advocating for legal rights of community in the state of Florida. As a small voluntary bar association, we are ecstatic and humbled to be recognized, and we look forward to continuing to service the community. I would like to introduce myself for those of you who do not know me. I was born and raised in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I grew up in a middle-class family who worked very hard to pay for my education. I obtained my first law degree in Haiti from University Quisqueya, where I graduated with honors in 2010. In May 2014, I earned my Juris Doctor degree from St. Thomas University School of Law, where I also graduated magna cum laude. I am one of the two partners of Gideon and Morales Law Group. Currently, I am a fellow of Class 10 of the Florida Bar Leadership Academy and the president of the Haitian Lawyers Association. HLA continues to provide legal equal access and adequate representation to all through various legal clinics. One of the benefits of voluntary bar service is the opportunity to work with so many dedicated lawyers. Several of our current initiatives include, in partnership with the Attorney General's Office, HLA is taking cases on pro bono basis in the areas of family law, landlord-tenant, and contract. In partnership with Miami-Dade County and several other local nonprofits, HLA provides legal assistance and advice in immigration law. Our members continuously work with Board Legal Aid and Dade Legal Aid to help local residents seeking legal assistance. And over the past 2 years, HLA members have traveled across the state hosting various legal clinics and drives. To quote Justice Ginsburg, lawyers have a license to practice law, a monopoly on certain services. But for that privilege and status, lawyers have an obligation to provide legal services to those without the means to pay, to respond to the needs outside themselves, and to help repair tears in their communities. I want to extend a special thank you to our board members. We have two of them with me today, our immediate past, Vladimir St. Louis, and our treasurer, Deborah Michael Saintville. And we also would like to thank our sister bar associations for supporting us. We would like to recognize Judge Lodi Jean, Judge Fred Serafin, State Representative Dodie Joseph, and U.S. Attorney Mark Lapointe, and so many others who paved the way and made it possible for us to be here today. Finally, I want to thank God, my family, my friends, and my most supportive husband, Dr. Leon Stefan Gideon. Thank you.
I'd now like to ask Mr. Gary Lesser, President of the Florida Bar, to present the Florida Bar President's Pro Bono Service Awards, and then he will be introducing Ms. Iris Elijah, the President of the Bar's Young Lawyers Division. And let me just say, we mentioned at the beginning of this that there are many ways to give back to the public as lawyers, and one of President Lesser's biggest initiatives this year is his mentoring program that you're going to be hearing more about in the coming months. The court's very excited about it, and I would encourage everybody who's interested to be on the lookout for that, because that'll be yet another way that Florida lawyers will be able to serve. Thanks.
May it please the court, Chief Justice Muniz, Justice Polston, Justice Labarga, Justice Curiel, Justice Grosshans, Justice Francis, assembled members of the bench, Florida Bar members, special guests, friends and families of our distinguished honorees. It's my honor to serve as president of the Florida Bar, but especially so on a day like today, when we're gathered to celebrate and honor our fellow attorneys that have dedicated countless hours to serve those in need through pro bono legal services. These selfless advocates have given a voice to those who need a champion, to ensure their access to justice, to serve as an example, a bright beacon of hope to all of us, what has been done and what can be done to provide representation to Floridians and their families in need, where committed advocacy can make a big difference in someone's life. On behalf of myself and President-elect Scott Westheimer, the members of the Board of Governors that are here today, and the more than 110,000 members of the Florida Bar, it's my privilege and honor to recognize 21 of our members who have done so much to provide legal services and access to justice. These lawyers demonstrate the best of our profession, determined advocacy to help those who would otherwise go without any help whatsoever, going the extra yard and even further than that to make sure there's access to legal services for those in need. The work done by pro bono attorneys in Florida changes lives and in some instances saves lives. This is what real champions, true heroes look like. Here are just a few examples of the extraordinary contributions made by today's Florida Bar President Pro Bono Service Award honorees. It's very challenging just to pick a few because the work of all of the honorees today is just so exceptional. One honoree, in the 10 years he's been licensed to practice law, has amazingly donated 610 pro bono hours already. Has become a standout of the more than 3,000 volunteer lawyers at the Legal Aid Society of Orange County Bar Association. And I'm told that he eagerly takes on the most challenging cases to help those in need. Another honoree, worth highlighting, created the Frontline Heroes Pro Bono Project. It's not easy to create something from whole cloth and make something new that will be of service. It was his idea, and he helped establish the program to help essential workers during the pandemic by providing advance directives. And to be clear, this was not only hospital and medical workers. This was anyone that was in the course of their job in regular contact with people and potentially at risk. Another honoree organized many different community groups. That's a challenge to bring different community groups together to make a greater impact. And the honoree did this to help address the secondary crises of the pandemic, housing and job loss. She brought together many different groups and in many ways anticipated some of the challenges that we would see after we left peak COVID and moved forward into the time after that. Each circuit honoree and our out-of-state honoree did more than their part in providing pro bono legal services to citizens of this great state that are in great need in so many areas of the law. I bring with me a visual aid. You should have one of these. This is the program that lays out in some detail the work done by every recipient of the Florida Bar President Pro Bono Award. Just read a page, read 2 pages, and you think, my goodness, these people are pretty exceptional, and perhaps I should do a little bit more. That's my takeaway every time I come here, every year. In every single case, they've made a difference in someone's life, impacted a family, and given hope. One of my favorite expressions from the Talmud is that anyone who saves a life, it is as though they've saved the entire world. And there are many interpretations of that, but I think perhaps the simplest one is when you've helped someone, you've helped them, you've helped their family, you've helped their community, and the ramifications of benefits spread. In the most recent 12 months reported, as Chief Justice Muniz mentioned, lawyers like our honorees have provided over 1.5 million hours of service and over $7 million to legal aid organizations. To our honorees, I say thank you. There are not sufficient words. All of you have demonstrated to every lawyer, law student, judge, citizen here in Florida what the best of the best looks like, what being a lawyer is all about. I'd like to begin to honor your dedicated service. I'm going to ask each recipient of the Florida Bar President's Pro Bono Service Award to come forward as I call your name, and then I'll give you your certificate. I've been briefed. I'm going to give the certificate. We're going to handshake. We're going to take a photo, and we're going to go down the line. I'd be remiss if I did not thank Frank for all of his work in helping coordinate today's events. He actually sent a video to make sure that myself and all the award winners would have the opportunity to see what the presentation looked like. So thank you, sir. So I'm going to start by asking the honorees to come up. The First Circuit, Jennifer Gutai Camella, please come forward. Second Circuit, Kevin Forsterful. Third Circuit, Guy W. Norris. Fourth Judicial Circuit, Melina Buncombe. Fifth Judicial Circuit, Melissa K. Hancock. Sixth Judicial Circuit, Karis Campbell. Seventh Judicial Circuit, Paul A. Martin. Eighth Judicial Circuit, Jan Bendick. Ninth Judicial Circuit, Paul Zenowitz, who is appearing remotely. Tenth Judicial Circuit, Christy Hatcher Bolin. Eleventh Judicial Circuit, Ronald L. Book. Twelfth Judicial Circuit, Susan A. Byron, who is appearing remotely. Thirteenth Judicial Circuit, Harley Herman. Fourteenth Judicial Circuit, Clark T. Rogers, Jr. Fifteenth Judicial Circuit, Stephen D. Rubin. Sixteenth Judicial Circuit, David L. Manns. Seventeenth Judicial Circuit, Douglas J. Glade. All right. 18th Judicial Circuit, J. Randall Moore, who is appearing remotely. Nineteenth Judicial Circuit, Lisa M. Kale. Twentieth Judicial Circuit, Melissa Gregg Schiffman. And last but by no means least, our out-of-state award recipient, Patrick C. Valencia. Please give all of our honorees one more collective round of applause. Well, it is now my privilege to ask Iris Elijah, President of the Young Lawyers Division of the Florida Bar, to come forward and present the Young Lawyers Division Pro Bono Service Award. Round of applause.
Good afternoon. Chief Justice Muniz, justices, pro bono honorees, and distinguished guests. I am honored to stand before you and represent over 23,000 young lawyers across the country. And although we do welcome all young lawyers at heart, the court defines a young lawyer as an attorney in the first 5 years of practice or under the age of 36. The Young Lawyers Division strives to educate, advocate, connect, and serve young lawyers. This year's Young Lawyers Division Pro Bono honoree, Irina Shebetave, is a shining example of that mission. 20 years ago, Irina joined the almost 400,000 Russian speakers in South Florida. Irina is a first-generation American born to a Russian mother and a Ukrainian father. Irina first completed law school in Moscow, Russia, and then completed law school again at Florida International University in 2010. I don't know about you, but completing law school once is enough for a lifetime. Motivated by her experience as an immigrant, Irina has dedicated her legal career to helping immigrants from around the world obtain their legal status in the United States, specializing in asylum and deportation defense, which is exactly why on February 20th, 2022, when Russia declared war on Ukraine, Irina knew exactly what had to be done to assist the 7 million displaced Ukrainians. Many refugees landed in South Florida with little more than the clothes on their back. A mere 6 days after President Biden declared Ukrainian refugees eligible for temporary protected status, or TPS, the Russian American Bar Association, led by Irina as chair of professional responsibility, held its first virtual seminar to train lawyers on how to help Ukrainian refugees obtain TPS. TPS grants legal authorization to remain in the U.S. for 18 months and provides benefits such as work authorization and time to consider paths to resident status, such as asylum or family-based applications. And as you'd expect, applying for TPS is a rigorous and confusing process, especially for a war refugee without resources and often without the ability to communicate in English. As a result, Irina coordinated a series of day-long pro bono events in the city of Sunny Isles, where many Ukrainian refugees settled, to educate Ukrainian refugees on the TPS process and provide assistance in completing the TPS application. Irina still found that there was more that could be done. So she provided food, water, and supplies personally. Due to Irina's leadership, hundreds of Ukrainians were assisted in their darkest time of need. All the while, like many young lawyers, Irina simultaneously dealt with the stress and rigors of professional life, a young family of 3 boys, and her professional commitments, including assisting her own family with leaving her native Moldova, Romania, due to the ongoing risk of war. Irina's personal struggles never deterred her from assisting those in her community. As a fellow resident of South Florida, I am proud of Irina's strong response to the needs of some of the most vulnerable among us. Irina, you truly embody the American spirit. Once again, congratulations.
I hope you don't hear my heart beating. May I please the court, Chief Justice Muniz, your honors, President Lesser, and members of the board, my fellow nominees, dear guests. Thank you, Iris, for such a warm introduction. I am truly honored to be here and to be recognized. I am thankful to Thomas Graham, who many of you know, and the Russian American Bar Association for nominating me, and also for supporting my initiative and assisting with organizing, promoting, and facilitating the community outreach events that we've helped to help thousands of Ukrainian refugees. Our bar association, that many of you probably have never heard about, it's very little one, it's voluntary, and we unite American lawyers that either speak Russian or serve the Russian-speaking clients. And in 2022, our mission was to show an example of unity and compassion to our South Florida community and the country at large, proving that our ethnicity, citizenship, or language that we speak should not stand in the way of helping people in need. Whether you are from Ukraine or Russia, Belarus or Kazakhstan, here in the United States, we're all members of the same community. And we all agree that we stand against violence and will do whatever it takes to promote peace between our people. I thank my family, my husband Arthur, who is here present today, and 3 of our sons for being so patient with me and lifting the weight of my shoulders, taking care of our household. And by the way, this guy drove 7.5 hours to bring me here today. Good guy. Allowing me the opportunity to dedicate hours and hours to researching, then organizing, and holding Q&A sessions and seminars, educating newcomers, and answering their questions. As an immigrant myself, I know personally how challenging and at times unbearable it feels to move to a new country, to adjust to a new language, new culture, new jobs, new friends. And I cannot imagine how hard it is for somebody to move if the reason to move is not to look for a new, better life, but to save your life, escaping the war and leaving everything that you had behind. I was born in a small town, Benderi, in one of the satellites of the former Soviet Union, Moldova. And when I was 9, a war broke out in our region. Little did I know that following the military conflict, I would be living in the new republic of Transnistria, which probably many of you have not heard. This little republic has not been recognized internationally even today, more than 20 years later. 20 years later, I remember as it happened yesterday, the sounds of tracing bullets by the window, us, little kids, sitting in the underground bomb shelters, and then our family fleeing the town, crossing the bridge, hoping to get to the other side. At the time, we were evacuated to Ukraine, where half of my family from my father's side lives. When I learned that Russia, where my mother was born, where I got my first law degree, where my best friends and half of my heart lives, invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022, I thought that's some kind of bad dream that probably is not real. But a year later, we have learned to live in this new reality. Almost immediately after the first refugees from Ukraine started coming to the United States, I reached out to the board of RABA, as Iris mentioned, and I proposed to hold some kind of event to educate those people on how they can legally stay in the United States, including TPS, and later there were events, a series of live and virtual events about humanitarian parole and other options. That was challenging, that was overwhelming, but at the same time, very emotional and rewarding. At this time, I also assist Russian citizens fleeing persecution to seek asylum in the United States, because I truly believe that Russian people who have guts to oppose the regime and risk losing their lives and freedom because of that also deserve the best representation. I want to encourage my fellow lawyers to provide as much pro bono work as you can. You can always find something that is dear to your heart and meaningful. It feels good to help. And I think it also helps us fight the unlicensed practice of law, in a way. Because indeed, the more information you provide to people, the less chance they will fall prey to some fraudsters that would take everything that they have, just because they don't know what or how to do. Lastly, I'd like to thank the members of my team, my law firm family at Samorukov and Shabitaev PA. We're all women law firm, owned and operated by beautiful ladies, now 20 and growing. They're smart, they're beautiful, they're kind, and they don't just help our clients to achieve their American dreams. They help each other every day. They help community. Those ladies devoted hours of their personal time to provide translations, to volunteer at the events that I held, and to keep me sane in that process. So I dedicate this award to you ladies, to my heroes. You're great mothers, and I do believe that makes you even better lawyers. And I dedicate this award to other women lawyers that manage to balance, not all the time, but our professional and our family lives. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Those are really excellent remarks. We now turn to the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Service Award, which is our court's highest pro bono honor. Its namesake, Miami's Tobias Simon, was a renowned civil rights lawyer who died in 1982. Our court has given the award every year since then. It is believed to be the first award established by a state's highest court to recognize a private attorney for providing voluntary pro bono services to the poor. If there are any prior recipients of the award in attendance, I'd like to ask them to please stand and be recognized. This year, the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Service Award, again our court's highest service award, goes to Mr. Timothy Allen Moran of Oviedo. Mr. Moran has volunteered with Central Florida's Community Legal Services since 2009. In that time, he has performed over 1,500 hours of pro bono work, serving clients in nearly 500 cases. He's also served as a human force multiplier, mentoring more than 50 law students and new attorneys and encouraging their own pro bono efforts. Mr. Moran has participated in Community Legal Services Alternative Spring Break from its start, offering law students at the University of Florida direct legal experience during what otherwise would have been a vacation. Participants help veterans with VA claims and estate planning. Mr. Moran developed the interview questionnaires that students use during these clinics to help volunteer attorneys draft wills and other planning documents. Mr. Moran has also worked to develop and launch Peer Academy through Community Legal Services. This program provides mentors and other resources to train lawyers in areas of emerging need. His work with Community Legal Services has been so extraordinary that he has attained every award that the organization bestows. In fact, it created a new award in his name, the Timothy A. Moran Champion of Justice Award, to honor young lawyers. His pro bono work has also been widely recognized by other groups, including the Florida Bar Young Lawyers Division, City of Oviedo, the Ninth Circuit Pro Bono Committee, the National Legal Aid and Defenders Association, which presented him its highest honor. I think after today there may not be any more pro bono awards for him to receive, but I'm sure he'll find a way. It's hard to imagine a more worthy recipient of the Tobias Simon Pro Bono Service Award. It's my great honor and pleasure now to ask Timothy Allen Moran to come forward to receive the award from Marshall Dawson and to offer remarks.
We're going to have to get him another mic. I'm sorry, Chief.
May it please the court that I have been received. It's an honor to win the Tobias Award in history and so emblematic of good works of Lord prosperity. It's an honor for the Tobias Awards to speak in history and so emblematic of good works of Lord prosperity. In this audience today, first my heartfelt thanks to Rita Hawkins, who's in this audience today. Thank the chair of me 20 years ago, and for helping me find what would be the driving force for of a lifetime, my Pro Bono Award. Also in this audience today, our fellow award nominee Claude Nelson, and my heartfelt thanks to him and of the Pro Bono unit for allowing me to do the work we do that means so much to us all. Also in this audience today, Community Legal Services Executive Director and Chief Program Officer, respectively, Jeff Harvey and Danielle Harris, also integral to the wonderful work we do, and who also allow me to do it. The experiential goal of the Florida Bar is that each lawyer performs 20 hours a year of pro bono service. It's always struck me that means the lawyer has to give less than a day each year to help those that cannot otherwise afford our assistance. Less than a day of our lives. I was contacted some years ago by Community Legal Services Barbara Darrell and told that in their Ocala office there were waiting 2 elderly individuals in need of some bankruptcy assistance. They were hearing impaired, 2 90-year-old hearing impaired veterans. Both of whom were married and had considerable medical debt and credit card bills. They were husband and wife, and they had considerable medical debt and credit card bills. And they found it very hard to live on a fixed income and needed to file a Chapter 7 to relieve the stress and hopefully get over their lives. But this particular case was different from all the others. We caught most of the others in Chapter 7 because they were behind in their utility bill. And when someone's behind in their utility bill, the utility company has the option to place a lien on their house. And once a lien has been placed on your house, the company holds the lien as the option to foreclose. And once the lien's been filed, nothing can take it off except paying off the lien, which was far beyond the resources of these good people. I spoke to them by phone, and then later they showed me some paperwork that they assumed was notification that the lien had been filed. I had done the paperwork, found that the lien had not been filed. And what the paperwork they showed me instead was the utility company's intent to file a lien, but it hasn't been filed yet. I consulted the calendar on my wall and noted the date the letter was sent, realized I had about 3 days to file a Chapter 7. Yeah, and to make matters a little more complicated, the hearing impairment caused a communication gap. But we got it done in 3 days. Lien was filed. The bankruptcy was filed before the lien could be placed, and these good people who would serve our country out of distress were relieved from them. Now, my total time on that case was 12 hours, slightly less than half of the metaphorical day I spoke of a moment ago. I can think of a few better ways to spend 12 hours than that. Now, the Chief Justice did a wonderful job setting me up, speaking of mentoring and bureaucracy, which I'll get to in a minute. But I first began my legal career in 2009 when Community Legal Services posted an ad in the paper back when I'm dating myself. People still read papers back then. I'm dating myself. Posted an ad in the paper that said that they would train lawyers in foreclosure defense. I took them up on the offer, and very soon, with the assistance of Lena Hopkins, who I mentioned before is responsible for my finding the driving force of a lifetime, and managing attorney Roberto Cruz, I soon was volunteering on a full-time basis and had an office in downtown Orlando with community legal and a very heavy caseload. You might remember that Florida was one of the hardest hit states in the foreclosure crisis. We were number 2 in the state, so we were busy. One of the wonderful events of working with community legal at the time was that we had a wonderful relationship with the family law school. It was one of my favorite jobs to be the intern coordinator and mentor law students and teach them and walk them through certain things. They would assist me in filling out client intake packs. I would shadow them on cases to keep them the nuts and bolts of foreclosure and loan line. And I was able to see firsthand the impact that shadowing had on them, because they learned that reading the law was more than just reading cases, and that you had a real life impact on real people. Now, one of those mentors, one of those law students is in the audience today, Danielle Harris. She was at one point my right arm, a wonderful law school intern, and now she's the Chief Program Officer of Community Legal, so mentoring works. It's come a full circle. The Community Legal Services has now launched, as the Chief Justice so wonderfully set me up for, and thank you, sir, a marvelous program called the Peer Academy, whereby we take an attorney who's new to the practice area and educate them in that and train them and allow them to take a case in a practice area such as family law or estate planning or bankruptcy. We mend them to the case and we provide them CLEs and so on with the thinking that they will then add that to their private practice arsenal and then come back and take some pro bono cases. I find it, if you pursue pro bono work as I've done and make it your driving force, you will be happy and fulfilled in your profession as I've done. I'm going to close with a quote that means a good deal to me, but before I do that, I'd like to offer a few extended thanks. First and foremost, next to me is my mother, next to me as she has always been, and my father, who, God rest his soul, is not here but always was. In the audience we have more of my friends and family than there is time to name. The audience is replete with those that have done me kindness. I thank you all. And I'll close with the words of an 18th century Quaker minister by the name of Stephen Gray. This sums up my feelings on pro bono work. I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, any kindness that I may do to another human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer and neglect it, because I will not pass this way again. Thank you all, and it's been an honor to speak before you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran, for those wonderful remarks, and thank you especially for everything that you've done and for highlighting how really all of us are dependent on others. You know, we're here to honor pro bono service for, you know, helping clients who can't afford legal services, but as we've heard over and over again, you know, all of us depend on others for mentorship. We depend on our parents. I'm so happy that your mother was able to be here today to witness this, so thank you. As we've seen and as we've experienced, there's a beauty in serving others. And when we see extraordinary examples of such service, we're naturally drawn to that beauty. As was said at the beginning, I hope that today's ceremony will motivate all Florida lawyers to consider how we can use our talents as attorneys to promote the public good. As a final expression of our gratitude, let's have one final round of applause for today's honorees. That concludes the formal part of our ceremony. We invite everyone here who is not an award winner to proceed to the rotunda to help celebrate the accomplishments of this year's recipients. If you are an award recipient, please remain here in the courtroom for photographs with the justices. This ceremonial session of the court now stands adjourned. Thank you.
All rise.